We are a very large French global mineral-based specialty company. We're involved in multiple regions around the world, ASPAC, EMEA, and Americas. We basically run very large mines, and we extract, bluntly, a lot of rock and minerals from the earth, and we sell it to other people to turn into something else. These are called performance minerals. If you look at Imerys, a lot of people actually might not have heard of Imerys, and it's only because what we produce is turned into other things. So bits of the cars you drive, the automotive industry, when you paint your house, the paints, the ceramics, the cups that you drink from in today, all these minerals go into these things. These are performance minerals. So what I'm going to do today is just to tell you a little bit about ourselves, what we do, and some of the key net zero projects that we've been involved in. It's less, in 15 minutes, I can't give you the definitive energy intensive user's guide, but what I can give you is a small insight into terms of what we do, some of the net zero projects that we're working on around scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. We're also looking at scope 3 emissions. That's the hard part, but I'm going to tell you about some of our global projects that we've been working on to reduce our carbon footprint. Okay? So what do we do? So a little bit of a background. So you can see the regions that we're involved in globally. We're one of the leading mineral-based specialty solutions providers in the world. We're number one in about 75% of our businesses. We've got nearly 24,000 customers. We've got about nearly 14,000 employees dotted across the globe, and a revenue of about 3.8 billion euros per annum. We've got 179 industrial sites, and we've got sales in 126 countries. My role specifically is around the UK, but I do get involved in some of the European projects that we work on. So what do we do? What do we offer? We do functional additives that basically they provide unique properties to our customers. So as I said before, these things go into plastics and rubber and paints, paper and board. They go into ceramics and building products, and filtration and life sciences. So they're quite specialist just in terms of what they do, and quite specific to the type of customers that want to use them. Now, key to this, actually, one of our key growth areas is around mobile energy, and that's in terms of batteries. So, for example, we have a site in France now, in the central Allier region, at Belvoir, which will produce around 32,000 tons of lithium hydroxide, which will go into the batteries for EV vehicles. And also in the UK, we've set up trial sites at our site down in St Austell to produce lithium carbonate, and we're looking to produce around about 20,000 tons with Cornish British lithium, which will supply, we reckon, about 500,000 batteries for the UK market. So lithium is actually one of our big growth areas. So you may end up on a holiday in Cornwall, but actually there's some big mining operations going on the inside of Cornwall, of which Imerys is one of the larger players. So there's a lot of mineral extraction going on at very large mines down there. Some of our minerals also go into solar and also semiconductors as well. So some of the other key areas around refractory producers. So part of our business is all about refractory. It's all about heat-resistant minerals that go into lime furnaces, kilns, for example. So they're specialty minerals as well, and their unique product is all about heat resistance. We have minerals as well that go into our abrasives, and building and infrastructure as well is another key area. And very quickly, some of the key insight, some of those minerals: kaolin, which is China clay, for example, and Devon ball clay; lithium, which I've just mentioned as well; mica, which is another core mineral, which is all around having light, soft, and flexible benefits to it. So each of these minerals basically does very different things. So we're using a lot of energy in taking all these minerals out of the ground at one of these sites globally. Also, another example: perlite, quartz, and talc. Everybody knows talc. But yeah, these are some of the definitive minerals that we're also extracting for their unique properties around the globe. So in terms of our sustainability journey, it's really complex. We use a lot of energy because we're digging stuff out of the ground. So what we created was around sustain agility. This is all about empowering our people, growing with our customers, and caring for our planet at the same time. So what we did, we defined some priority topics with midterm sustainability objectives to be achieved by the end of 2025. So some of our key milestones in our sustainability journey, running through from 2004 to 2023, as you can see, we have our first publication of our annual sustainability report in 2008. We became a signatory member of the UN Global Compact in 2016. 17, the French Business Climate Pledge. 2018, the launch of the sustainability program. 19, the climate change strategy alignment with a trajectory to the SBTI targets. 20, midterm sustainability objectives. 21, signatory of the Women's Empowerment Principles. 22, the unveiling of the purpose, vision and values. And 23, the launch of our new midterm sustainability objectives. So as I mentioned before, Scope 1 and 2 emissions, our targets are 42% by 2030, and for Scope 3, it's 25% by 2030. But then we have a big gap. We're picking our easy hanging fruit in terms of our net zero projects, but what we then have is 2030 to 2050 to achieve net zero. We're a mining company. We're going to be using more energy in terms of our mining operations. We have wet mining, we have dry mining. We're going to be moving from wet mining, which is more energy intensive, to dry mining. We take the product, the raw earth minerals, we extract it, we use fuel in our dumper trucks to move it around our heavy mining equipment. It then needs to be dried, then needs to be crushed, it then needs to be milled, it turns into a fine powder. So depending on who you are as a customer, we will deliver you a certain powder that you then turn into something completely different. So the sealant that goes around your bathroom, that's one of our products. So all that white sealant that protects your bath, that stops it from getting too damp, that's one of the products that our minerals go into, for example. So we do have a very clearly defined journey that we're trying to follow. But at the moment, we're very much focusing on the 2030 targets and how we achieve that. And this is mainly surrounding some of the key projects around conversion to biomass, moving away from coal. We've used coal, for example, we did in a number of our kilns to produce heat to dry our product. Because the product we're taking on the ground is wet through wet mining, we need to dry, and it's very energy intensive. So the UK, for example, we use 0.5 terawatt hour of gas. So we're now looking at some hydrogen solutions, blending hydrogen into our kilns so that we can become much more efficient in our energy usage. Just a little bit of an insight in terms of selected ESG ratings. So I'll give you some numbers here. So S&P Global, we're rated 57, the 84th percentile. We use a system, actually we're signed up to EcoVadis. A lot of you would have heard of EcoVadis. If you're a customer or if you're a supplier, then we monitor our Scope 3 emissions or 1 and 2 emissions. We talk to our suppliers, the people who are delivering products to us, and it's one of the key tools that we use as a business in terms of our net zero trajectory and journey. So that's something that we heavily rely on. Carbon Disclosure Project as well, we're rated B. And Sustainalytics 31, 69th out of 143. But it's a complete journey, this. It's hard work. We're a mining company, as I said before. We use so much energy, and we're going to be using more energy. It's all about electrification for us as well. What we can produce on site to stop importing from the grid is really important. So we're launching new mineral solutions as well, which are actually centered around solutions for energy transition. So we talk about saggers for lithium-ion battery makers. We talk about the high aspect ratio for talc and mica. We talk about sustainable construction. We're building more houses. How do we make those houses more sustainable? And those kind of minerals that we're taking out of the ground are going into actually the construction of these buildings. Also looking at natural solutions for consumer goods, such as diatomite and perlite filter aids to remove different contaminants in renewable diesel. So there's a move to HVO. we use 6 million litres of diesel, which is about 10 million, 12 million pounds worth of fuel in our dumper trucks, heavy mining equipment, moving all this product, minerals around. So we need to be more efficient. So we're moving to HVO, moving to renewable diesel to actually try and support that journey. Actually, we thought that came at a cost, but HVO is now at a similar price to diesel. So the market is moving. It's becoming more attractive to actually take on board renewable diesel. So we recognize that can happen sooner rather than later. So we're trying to accelerate the decarbonisation. It is hard work, I'll be honest with you. And we need to think carefully how we move from 30 to 50, how we take up that last 58% from being an intensive energy user. That is the key challenge that we face going forward. But it's something that we need to do. And the question for us is, how do we do that? And we have a number of projects, working groups internally, globally, in terms of decarbonisation. And the next projects, CapEx costs, OpEx costs, looking at these key drivers, key costs, to determine which of these projects we will next focus to reach our 2050 eventual target. So I'm going to mention very quickly some of our key renewable projects. What we have something called iEnergize. So this is all about energy efficiency. So we visit all of our sites to try and reduce carbon footprint. We look at their processes in terms of how they're using energy. We look at their motors. We look at what exactly they do, and we put together a program to reduce energy efficiency. So this is one key tool whereby we go around each site globally, and we get underneath the car bonnet to understand how that site uses energy and how it can be reduced. And actually, it has been very successful. But there's more work to be done in these key areas. One of our other key projects was in Andersville, in South Georgia in the USA. And what they looked at was actually biofuels, biomass. So they replaced their gas, they were using coal actually, and they replaced it with biomass. And what they used was the husks from the peanut shells in South Georgia to actually burn. So as a group, we reduced our greenhouse gas emissions totally by 3% by actually burning peanut shell husks rather than coal. So it's actually projects like this which make a huge amount of difference. So that's one project. We've got other projects as well in Bahrain, for example, where they're taking out your standard PPA, power purchase agreements. What we prefer to do is do stuff on site because of the optimization around energy taxes and levies. What that means is it's cheaper for us in the long run. So where we can do it on site rather than off site through a PPA, we prefer to do it that way. There's lots of questions around off-site PPAs, whether they be financial or physical as well, in terms of half-hourly matching as well. It brings the microscope back to us. So we want to do the right thing. We're part of that journey and that evolution, but we recognise that there's some key projects, key sites as well that we can do a lot for. Some of the other areas that we looked at is storage services in the US, reducing 7,000 tons of CO2 per year. South Africa, mines in South Africa, reducing 5,000 tons of CO emissions as well via PPAs. We've also installed on-site PV systems as well. In Malaysia, for example, reducing tonnage by 1,600 tons. Some of the UK stuff, which is closer to home for me, has mainly been around installation of on-site turbines. So one of our sites in Blackpool, there's a picture here of a flooded pit. The pit's no longer used, but it is flooded. We use that water actually as part of our operations for wet mining. It's all recycled. It goes around massive pipes around the whole of our mining industry through Cornwall. There's massive underground pipes which deliver this sludge I should say, from point A to B for it to be processed. That wind turbine, 500, it's only 500 kilowatt, it's half a meg, but that helps support about 2 gigs worth of electricity per annum in order for the site next door. We're doing, as I mentioned before, renewable diesel trials in the transition to move away from dirty diesel. We'll see the benefit of around 13,000 tonnes, we reckon, of CO abatement by introducing HVO into our UK mining operations. We'll also look at rolling that out across the globe. We're also looking at hydrogen as well, hydrogen electrolyzers. We work with a company called Carlton Power, who are part of the government CFD, we were looking at how hydrogen, green hydrogen, could be a solution for the future. So I mentioned our 0.5 terawatt of gas that we use in the UK, which is a lot of fuel to consume in terms of our drying process. And what we're doing is trying to see if we can blend that fuel into our into our kilns. Probably about 50% we reckon we could do, but there's challenges around that because of embrittlement of pipework, in terms of the burner tips, and it's technically challenging in terms of how quickly we can take that hydrogen in year one and the ramp up over a commercial PPA structure. So it's evolving. The journey to net zero is not simple. There's low-hanging fruit that we've taken, but it's going to get more difficult for us, if I'm perfectly honest. We're going to be looking at electrification, as I said. We're looking at hydrogen and some of these key other projects. But my message, I guess, is it's going to be a long journey, this, as we start to, these minerals will become more important as we go forward. Lithium, in particular, for Cornwall, is a prime example of that supply chain in the UK and how we can self-support that.